Dear Harstem, I have to say that the Protoss is too IMBA. IMBA in every aspect, especially the speed of its mass air force. This video is the best proof of this. In the early game I used the mind game build order and the results are outstanding. I managed to spot that the opponent was using the VR build order, which is the robotics facility build order, so it's a robo build. I defended against it in advance, but the opponent didn't attack me at all. The Protoss is also IMBA in it cannot come if it can think of it, but you can't help it. I know all of these are English words. I don't quite comprehend the meaning, but I'm sure it's very deep. I can only camp and mass tanks and Hellbat because I scouted that the opponents are all ground units at 10 minutes in game. And then guess what? At 12 minutes, the opponent's 2 aircraft carriers came out and 3 aircraft carriers were still under construction. And I'm almost all tanks. Nothing else. I was wiped out. I urgently produced Thor and mines, but to no avail. I think this game is the best game I've ever played on Terran vs Protoss. But I lost. I used to be a master, but now I can't beat diamonds right. Let person lament. So I wanted to ask, is the Protoss' speed of its mass air force too terrifying? Or are the Terrans producing too slowly? Is Protoss IMBA? Or do I suck? Imbalanced complaint form sent in by a diamond player with 4300 MMR on the Korean server has a Chinese name that translates to after the high school entrance examination, things start to get messy. Yes, apparently in 9 Chinese characters, you can write out that entire sentence. So we're going to call him the dropout. So imbalanced complaint form sent in by the dropout complaining about Protoss, asking simply, is Protoss imbalanced or does he suck? Let's figure it out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we have it. The dropout as our red Terran player in the top left. Our replay submitter, an angry Terran player. One of many versus Sky, our lovely Protoss, who's going for a quick scout. Look at this brilliant mind build order. The mind game build order, as the dropout called it. What is this? I always find it very impressive when a player manages to confuse the observer that has full information. Very often that is not a good sign. Okay, what in the hell is this scout? Like, what is he scouting for? The mind game build order. It's not like he can change anything. This is why whenever we see 2-gas opener, because this is a 2-gas opener, so this is a what we call a fake proxy Rex into 2-gas, which is a good opener. You don't scout with this, and the reason for that is very simple. Is because there's nothing you can do to play more safe. This is already pretty much the safest opener that exists, because you get a factory in the wall, and there's no way you can really die. He's also messing up the build, by the way. You pull out of gas after you start your factory. So you have the fastest possible factory, very quick tech, quick aggression as a follow-up, and then you start getting more minerals. But instead we're getting a later factory. This factory is actually really quite late. So he just went 2-gas for no real reason. He also is forgetting to send out the Reaper, which makes me very happy to see. And then he's revealing the fact that he has a Reaper, is not killing the probe. Did he reveal that? Did that probe see that? I don't think it did. I think that probe barely missed it. Let's have a quick look at it, because that's actually pretty interesting. I'm so surprised that that Reaper decided not to go across the map. Why is there 3 SCVs on the map? Is this a challenge of trying to play a game with the least amount of eco possible? Okay, he did technically spot it. So I don't think Sky saw it. This is a diamond level game. So I don't think Sky now realizes that there's a barracks here. But if this is... You can't really call this a success, I think. Like, this is an insane amount of self-delusion, calling this a success, okay? I'll just quickly... we already have to pause here. That's how bad this is. His factory was delayed for no reason whatsoever. He scouted for really no reason whatsoever. He's gonna get the bunker up, that's nice. He had 2 extra SCVs on the map, on top of the SCV scout already, so losing a lot of mining there. And also, he gave away the mind game before the first gateway unit was out. Alright? That's a nice freaking success. This is one of these things which I honestly have serious trouble getting used to when it comes to IODIS. It's really frequent in IODIS that we get people with just an insane amount of self-delusion. And I just can't get used to it, because in real life this never happens. The only other place maybe in real life where you get this amount of self-delusion is men filling in their height in their Tinder bio. That is literally the only other place where we get this. Like, how in the world was this a great start? Like, this mind game legit just didn't work. Sky also is honestly appropriately responding here. He's doing everything correct. The only thing I dislike is that this Stalker is on the high ground. It should be down here. Super Battery should be utilized with this Stalker on the low ground. And this honestly would just have been a pretty much perfect defense. It really would have been. The perfect freaking defense. CC being built on the high ground is a move I kind of understand. The Tech Lab rush with the factory is something I absolutely do not understand. And these Reapers are the side. Why didn't he just kill these two workers here for free? Huh? Because he wanted a scout really bad, but he could have just gotten the workers and then tried to get for the scout. So at the end of the day, he killed 2 workers, lost 1 worker, lost the bunker, has a high ground command center that isn't finished, has no real pressure on the map because he forgot to build Marines during this entire period as well, and is now going into a factory. People that play mech should never be allowed to be happy with their position anyway. If you ever find yourself in the weird position that you have a second factory against Protoss, that is already not a good position, because mech against Protoss is genuinely quite bad. It just sucks. This is like shooting yourself in the foot and then complaining that you can't run as fast as the other kids. Like, yeah, no crap, maybe you shouldn't start by getting your gun out and shooting your own foot, you moron. So the self-delusion here is really something. It is beautiful. 4.5 minutes so far of just illusions. But now we have Banshees. I like this. I like Banshees. I really do like Banshees. Love to see Cloak with the Banshees. I think Banshees are a unit that is underrated. I think it's not being used enough. Especially in the current metagame at high level. Where Stargate is just not... Why the hell do we have a Viking? I hate when I can't finish my sentences because the player is doing something idiotic. Because he scouted. Wasn't he proud of the fact that he scouted? I'm gonna have to read this again. I managed to spot that the opponent was using the Robo build order, the VR build order. Like, honestly, why do you bother scouting if you have no clue what to do after scouting? Like, what is this Viking for? It's like shooting the prism? Like, how often do people rush a Robo and send a prism across the map? That shouldn't really be happening. And even if it does, there's better ways of well, I guess a Viking in that case is pretty nice, actually. But building a blind Viking, this is actually insane. Especially if your plan was to go... I was gonna say Cloak Banshee, but I guess just regular Banshee. The reason why he can't afford Cloak is because he built a second factory. Now realizes that factory units cost a crap ton of gas. Like, holy cow. Didn't expect this. I bet this is his first time playing mech as well. This is legitimately one of the worst build orders I've seen in my entire life. If this is the mind game build order, then I don't want to see a build order where he doesn't use his mind. Maybe I do want to see it. Maybe if he doesn't think, he does like great things. It's like in the zone. Vikings now gonna go for a scout. Love to see it. Love to see it. Gonna get some robo action as well as a Nexus on the gold, which I like. Honestly, against mech, I'd almost always just recommend taking 2 bases at the same time, or 5 bases. You just can't die as a Protoss player if you have Blink. Is it legit impossible? Blink Stalkers are so good against everything that comes out of the factory if they have to be out on the map. And so imagine they move out with a bunch of Cyclones. You can always match their Cyclone count with 4-gate Blink Stalker, and you can just double expand. If they're going for tanks, just go charge, and they can't really attack you. As long as they're getting a 3rd CC, you're most of the time just going to be absolutely fine. Like, mech is really not that good, and it's especially not good at attacking. So you have all the freedom in the world. Literally all the freedom in the world. You can do whatever you like. Did he kill that? Did he kill the observer? Okay, killed the observer. That's nice. It's quite nice. What is this Banshee production, for the love of God? So he built 1 Banshee 4 minutes in. This really felt like a Banshee rush. Then didn't get Cloak. After the Banshee got scouted by the observer. Maybe this Terran thinks that you can only build a single observer in the game. And he's like, now that I killed his one observer that he's allowed to build, I'm gonna get Cloak. This is legit the worst mind game I've seen in my entire life. And maybe the initial mind game was worse. Although that mind game in theory is good, the execution was just terrible. So we had the worst executed mind game in the world in this game, and the worst actual mind game. Showing a Banshee without Cloak, then killing the Observer, and then getting Cloak plus Banshee. You're gonna hit so late, by the time the Banshee makes it across the map with Cloak, it's going to be like 3 cannons per base. Because Sky is gonna be preparing for freaking battle cruisers. I love the amount of pressure, by the way, that the dropout has been putting on our opponent. He still killed 2 workers. 2. Down well, technically, basically, he's mining from the gold and the rich Vespine guys. It's not really down a base, but he should be down in income. But it really should be a fort for the Protoss. The Protoss is not playing this too well. Now, there come the cannons. These are not cannons to deal with Banshees, by the way. Like, these are just cannons. Like, legit, at this point, Sky is afraid of a battle cruiser transition. It's like, if 5 BCs, there's transfer. Is it called psionic transfer? No, that's what they adapt to do. Just teleport? I think it's called teleport. Teleport in my main base. I'd rather have some units there. This is the slowest freaking Banshee attack I've seen in my life. It's actually upsetting me. It is actually upsetting me. You have a Stargate coming out right now, as well as a Stalker attack. This is not a good... Stalker attacks are not bad. Colossus really suck. Well, really suck? Yeah, they really do suck against mech. They don't serve much of a purpose. They're okay at clearing Cyclones and Hellions if they're in small numbers. That's pretty much it. So Banshees try to go in and have to piss off again. There goes the surprise. I just like to note once again, by the way, that after killing the Ops, this move still took 2 minutes to execute. It's actual phenomenal play. It's like the decision making here coming out of the dropout is really something else. Meanwhile, +1. Look at the scouting as well. Good scan. Very nice scan. Like, what is this scan? Actually, what in the hell is this scan? Like, you know there's a third base. So the army most likely is going to be at the most frequent base or in between the bases. If you want to know if there's mining from this one, can't you just scout that with with one of your Banshees? Like, what are you scanning here? You're not scanning infrastructure. If you think infrastructure is in the natural, do you just scan the natural because then you get everything? This is also just the worst scan possible again. It is really impressive how many world records the dropout is setting here. It is really something. Triple Stargate meanwhile being built. If only these Banshees could move. Stuck in position, how frustrating. Can't move before they max out in energy. Maybe he thinks this is like one of these turn-based RPGs, where you need energy to move your units. He's really confused how to use his tanks because they don't have an energy bar. It's like, dang it. He's gonna be stuck here forever. His Banshees are just here idling until they have full energy, then start moving. Maybe he does think this is a turn-based RPG. Upgrades are coming along. I mean, we're 10 minutes into the game. Legit 0 scouting. They actually said, this is insane. Look at this. There's no clue as to what is going on. Like, legit no clue. This is a good scan. This is a good scan. Sees a chrono on the cybernetic score. This is a brilliant move as well. It's just getting some attention to the fact that something... Look, he's getting scanned. And then Sky is like... Sky here is thinking to himself like, oh... He realizes that this scan didn't actually catch the extra Stargates in the fleet peak. And it's like, let me draw some attention to the fact that something's happening in my cybercore. All right, let me just draw a little bit of attention to that. Like, the dropout looks at it, it's like, interesting. Probably chroning warp gate here. Nothing going on, guys. Nothing going on. Absolutely nothing going on. Has 1 Thor out already. Yeah, it should be good enough for the anti-air. Should be good enough for the anti-air. Yeah, this scouting is legit like 1-star scouting. It's insane. Command center in the main base. Could be a fort base. Command center over here. Could be a fort base as well. Worker count is actually in favor still of the dropout. Army composition. If they were to fight right now, I think the dropout has a pretty decent chance. I don't think Sky could do anything. I don't actually... But the problem is these 2 carriers, isn't it? These 2. That's actually a serious issue. That's actually a very serious issue. Another Stargate as well. 2 cybercores. Did that get spotted too? No, I just saw the single cyber core. Sometimes I think that Terrans don't actually know what the buildings do. Like, I think most Terrans know what a Dark Shrine does, but I don't think they know what's in a cyber core in a Robo Bay. Like, do you think Terrans could name the upgrades in a Robo Bay? I don't actually believe it. Maybe they get thermal lands? God, that would be a quiz. I feel like this could just be a game show by itself, asking Terrans questions about non-Terran things. I don't think they have any clue. I wonder if they know how inject works. And creep? I think they understand creep. Anyway, we have some nice tech. He scouts the triple stargates here. The 4 stargates. The fact that there's 5 stargates he sees. Now scans the carriers as well. Still not really worried about it, because he has a Raven. Loses it. Sieges up all of his tanks, which I don't think is actually a bad move. Although, it probably would have been better to just go back home. And just right now realizes what's kicking off. Don't forget at 10 minutes, he scouted the fact that there was a freaking cybernetics core upgrade here. Now actually ends up losing his entire army while right-clicking a Nexus to 2 carriers. Well, now also the Colossus and the Stalkers coming in. Resources lost, 7k to 3.6. Banshee still dealing damage, by the way, is hilarious to me. 3 more carriers coming out. Didn't he say something in the forum as well? I think he said that at the 10-minute mark, he had the perfect army against a ground toss. And then at 12 minutes, he didn't have the perfect army against the ground toss anymore. Despite him already seeing the fact that the Cybercore was researching at 10, if we still forget about that, it's just a hilarious thing to me that you believe that if you have the perfect army for 10 minutes, you also have the perfect army for 12 minutes into the game. Like, tech switches can happen pretty freaking fast. If there's, like, in 2 minutes, you can get a lot of carriers out there. You know, and especially if you know the fact that there's Stargates because you scouted with Banshees or you see the Cybernetics core resourcing, maybe you should do something about it. This is like showing up in the Formula 1 with like a horse and a wagon. And then being surprised when the other guys show up in cars. You're like, wait a second. Oh, there's technology over here. It's like, well, man, 20 years moves fast, my friends. Yeah, now the carriers show up. Still, Thors are pretty decent, honestly. Mine's actually dealing quite a bit of damage on the Thors. Take out some interceptors. I don't even think that the carriers were really the problem anymore. I think the fact that he lost all of his tanks was just too much. Because he did have, in total, 5 Thors. Like, if there still was a tank army underneath here, this actually would be a viable defense. Honest to God. Yeah, now it isn't. I don't think this was too early of a leave, by the way. People are going to be like, oh, it's 121 supply. So he was pretty dead. He was pretty dead, right? 71. I mean, at this level, you can always make a comeback, so probably should have stayed in. And especially because Protoss players tend to continuously attack into mech. It's quite common. Maybe, you know, with this base still around, you could retake the fort and try to make something of it. But yeah, at the high level, this would be 100% over. But, you know, this wasn't a high-level game. That's for sure. Because it was very, very mediocre. Actually, it was non-existent scouting. And when there was scouting of the Robo in the early game, the problem was that there was no response whatsoever. The early game build order was extremely bad. The overall thinking was bad. The complete lack of pressure, the harassment. I literally think that this was one of the worst games of mech that I've seen in IODIS. And on top of that, mech also isn't viable in Terran versus Protoss. So you're already playing something that isn't technically viable in the matchup, and then you're executing it like a brain-dead idiot. So I think that actually deserves the very rare double stamp, Hamster. You suck, and you're an idiot. Hit it. I'm sorry, buddy. It's the truth. All right. It's going to be it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. If you do believe that you can do better than the dropout, be sure to send in your replay as well. If you believe you found and spotted some true imbalanced, tell us all about it. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button, subscribe, all of that good jazz. And yeah, links in the description. Bye-bye. Follow me on Instagram.